Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of the most important things when it comes to Blitz Reforged, and that is commanders. Commanders are the biggest thing that I am worried about. I obviously expect the optimization of World of Tanks Blitz Reforged to get better, and that's not something I'm entirely worried about. Like, obviously, Wargaming is going to optimize this game so that when it does get released, it's not going to suck balls for everybody's device. That I am quite adamant on. The thing that I am very worried about is how Wargaming not only A, plans to balance and implement commanders, but B, how they plan to monetize them. Let's be real. This is Wargaming, and they monetize everything. I mean, we've already talked about the fact they're adding steel and now keys into the game, which are two new currencies. The only way to get steel is by converting your credits, and it costs more to convert it now than it did in the past. And not only that, but when it comes to keys, you have to use keys which you unlock by either spending money or grinding, which you previously wouldn't have had to. Previously, if you wanted to grind the IS-7, you just start at the tier 1, the whatever it is, and make your way to the tier 10. It's very easy, straightforward. Nobody ever complained about this, right? And now Wargaming has this set system where you need keys to unlock each different line. And because of this, you're just putting people into a situation where now they have to spend keys to unlock tanks. They're monetizing it. That's what they're doing. They're making more money off of something that previously did not involve money. And that is the same way I see commanders. World of Tanks PC has Equipment 2.0. And the way Equipment 2.0 works is essentially you have different choices of equipment that you can put on your vehicle. For example, there is Turbo, and Turbo allows your tank to go upwards of 5 to 6 kilometers per hour faster. You also have Rammer, and Rammer gives you upwards of 11% more DPM. You can run things that will give you more protection against modules being damaged or killed. You can run faster track repair speed. You can run more hit points. And these are all different opportunities. You can run better aiming time, better on-move dispersion. You get 3 options of what to choose, and you get to decide on how your tank plays, whether, you can drive an IS-7 and you can go for a full speed build on the IS-7, or you can go for an accurate and higher DPM build. And that's what's great about World of Tanks PCs. Everybody has their own choice of optimization and what they want their tank to play like. It's the one thing that's attracted me about PC that Blitz doesn't have. And Commanders is kind of like that. It's still not as good as just giving us more equipment, which is what Wargaming should have done for Blitz Reforged. But what they've done is that they've given us commanders, and for example, there are currently 3 different commanders that you can run on heavy tanks in Reforged Ultra Test. You have Duncan, which can run on any tank class, then you have Olivia and Kai, which are both heavy tank commanders. Now, what's cool is that each of these abilities gives you a different capability, right? So Duncan gives you 12% more damage on your 3rd shell. The rapid fire ability gives you 6% more DPM. So this is kind of like, if you're running Rammer on your tank. But then you have Olivia, which gives you 10% more health and 7% faster speed. So you can run extra health on certain heavies. I personally think this number should be around 14 to 15% to even out Duncan, but that's a whole different barrel to break into. The final one we have is Kai, and this guy gives you more armor, and when you block damage, you deal more damage. So these 3 commanders do give you very different capabilities, and depending on what tank you're driving, you can run very different choices, and I really like this. Now, I do think there's still a lot of problems with the commanders. I feel commanders like Kai and Duncan, or not Duncan, Kai and Olivia should also be available for slower tank destroyers, like the Badger, like the T110E3. You're driving a heavy, essentially. I feel like you should also be able to get the same boost of hit points and armor buffs on a V4 as you would an E100. It doesn't really make sense why you wouldn't be able to, especially because, the only commander right now that are for tank destroyers gives you more camo. We don't want that. So it needs to be better thought out in that regard, and if I get the opportunity to talk to Wargaming in the future, I will bring that up. That is something that needs to be talked about when it comes to the commanders. But the big thing that I'm worried about when it comes to commanders is, as I said before, the monetization of the game. That is the problem. On Wargaming's live streams, they've had a lot of moments where people have asked, hey, what's your plan with commanders? What is the plan with monetization? And to what was said on the Wargaming live streams, it was essentially, we don't plan to have paid commanders currently, but in the future, we will probably monetize them. And you're going to be able to earn them by grinding. But if you miss the event, then you're going to have to spend money to get them. That's kind of what I understood from the live streams that Wargaming has posted. Because basically they said, on the live streams, currently we don't plan to monetize commanders. And this has also been posted in their Discord server. They said, currently we don't plan to monetize commanders. However, if we do release monetized commanders, they won't be overpowered. When I hear something like that, it sounds like when a politician almost says, when somebody asks, did that plane crash into the woods? And then they're like, it didn't not crash into the woods. If a tree fell in the woods, did it actually fall if nobody heard it? That's kind of what it's like. And when it comes to wargaming, if they're leaving something open-ended, I'm going to close that gap and guess that, yes, commanders will be paid for at some point in the future. Maybe not in the first year of Blitz Reforged, but we can all agree that at some point, if wargaming wants to make more money, they're going to monetize commanders, and it's really only a question of how long, not a question of will it happen. So that's the first thing I should say. I mean, in the past, Wargaming said they won't sell crates. And guess where we are now? We have crates. And we've gone back to crates with no charms, like the Waffenträger Alfie 100, which some people spent thousands and thousands of dollars on and still didn't get their hands on. We still have crates with no charms as well, being the Operation Container. That's a 0.05% drop chance to get your hands on the AE Phase 1. We had the Lorraine 50-ton, which also was an incredibly low drop chance. So there are many examples of where there were super low drop chances and you literally could not get your hands on certain vehicles. And that's kind of stupid. That's really, really stupid. But now with commanders, it's a whole nother level. Because Wargaming said, we don't plan to implement overpowered commanders. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, Wargaming doesn't plan to create overpowered tanks, and yet they still do. We've seen in the past the 113 GFT was so overpowered that every single comp team from here to China was running the vehicle and spamming it like crazy. And it took Wargaming a whole year to balance it out when it should have been immediately balanced. It's a fantastic example of how Wargaming's dev team might not fully understand the situation that they are in a lot of these times. The CS63 is another great example. Tank was a pile of dog turds and wasn't buffed for like a year and a half, even though it should have been buffed like a month after release, right? These are all great examples of situations where I think Wargaming really missed the mark on balancing and their dev team in general. So when it comes to commanders and Wargaming saying we don't plan to implement, I don't know where that shot went, when Wargaming says we don't plan to implement overpowered commanders, I don't believe that, because it's hard for me to believe that Wargaming fully understands what might be considered an overpowered commander to begin with, and I just really, really hope that they really pay attention to what they're doing in that regard. The second thing is the fact of comp, right? Currently, when it comes to the competitive scene in Blitz, the comp scene is super, super important on what you have access to in your account. So, right now, a lot of comp players all are running the same loadouts because there's only really one loadout you can run. For example, let's say you're a light tank player, and you're going to use the Boss Chatillon 25-ton. Well, most likely, any Boss Chatillon player is going to be running the 4-shot gun because it gives you the most DPM. They're going to be pairing that with shell reload boost. They're going to be doing that with calibrated shells. And then, yeah, you're going to have a very similar loadout for just about everybody. But let's say Wargaming releases a commander for light tanks, which gives you more view range. But they make that commander only available in an event, which was available for a month, and then the event goes away, and now you don't have access to it. Now you've missed that opportunity to get that commander, and, just like a tank release, they don't bring that commander back out for another year. And not only that, but when they bring it back, it's in crates, because it's like this super, super good commander. So now what you've done is you've made this situation for one commander, which, 5% view range for most tanks isn't that big of a buff. But 5% view range for a light tank, especially in a competitive scene, can absolutely make a difference. And it's such a good example of where, if Wargaming releases something like that, and then they make it inaccessible for people who miss the opportunity, you're just bridging the gap between what is skill and what is just the game itself giving you advantages over somebody else. That's a serious problem, and it's definitely something that needs to be thought about. And it's the major thing that I am personally worried about when it comes to wargaming. I really, really hope that they do not screw up the monetization of commanders. All they have to do is make them accessible to everybody, and they need to make them free to get. That's as simple as it is. If they start adding commander containers into the game, if they start adding, pay to progress events, like, I think the best way to explain it is, in the past, we have had these goofy, backgrounds where it's like $200-300 to get your hands on a background, or even the season. Right now we got the Destiny, and if you want to complete the entire season and get all the rewards in the season, not just upgrading the Destiny, it's going to cost you like 39,000 boxes. Now there's no way to get that many boxes unless you actually spend money, like a lot of money, $50 to $100. So if that's the case, does that mean if Wargaming plans on putting commanders into seasons in the future, you're going to have to spend money at some point to achieve the final bits of grinding? These are all things which run through my head rent-free, because I am very worried about the monetization of commanders. It is the biggest problem that I think most people are worried about when it comes to this game, because really, if Wargaming screws this up, it could be the snowball effect that goes downhill, right? That's as simple as it is. So Wargaming, if you're watching today's video, please just be careful about how you decide to monetize commanders, because I personally don't think it's a very smart or good idea to put them behind a paywall. There's a reason why Wargaming has not put equipment on World of Tanks PC behind a paywall. Everybody has the opportunity to earn bonds. In fact, you can't even purchase bonds. And the reason why, yes, there is bounty equipment, which you can spend money to get, but bond equipment, which is better than bounty, you can earn for free just by playing tier 10s and getting bonds by winning those battles. Not to mention the bonds you get every year for the loyalty system, and not to mention the bonds you get just for playing the game modes, like the artillery snowball effect that they have. Like, you can easily earn tens of thousands of bonds every single year on PC. I streamed for 2 hours the other day and got 80 bonds just playing in my premiums and tier 10s. The point being, World of Tanks PC, there's a lot of things I don't like about PC, but the one thing I do respect is the fact that everybody has an equal chance of getting equipment, and it's not paid for. You can't just spend $100 and get, 5 pieces of bond equipment. You actually have to earn it, and you actually have to, get it, and you have to be smart on what tanks you put it on. That's how Blitz should be. These commanders should be earned, and they should be accessible to grind just like a Mission Marathon PC has at any time. And it should not be something that is locked behind a paywall once you miss the opportunity to get it the first time. That is not something I am okay with. But you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.